Hey, this is McCarthy. Welcome back to Coaching Sidebar. Our guest today is the founder and CEO of LeadX, an organization with the mission to spark the next 100 million leaders through the use of AI-powered leadership coaching. He is the host of the LeadX Leadership Podcast. He is a Forbes columnist, and he is a New York Times bestselling author of 9 books. That just shames me. I've never even written one book. Kevin has written 9 books, including the 15 Secrets Successful People Know About Time Management. And if you've watched the first episode of our conversation, Great Leaders Have No Rules, Contrarian Leadership Principles to Transform Your Team and Your Business. Our guest is Kevin Kruse. Welcome back to the show, Kevin.
Great to keep chatting.
How you doing, man?
Good. Never better.
Good. Hey, I want to talk about LeadX. And I want to dive into one specific aspect of LeadX, which I find particularly fascinating. And it's this idea, and maybe it's my idea, but I can't be the only person out there that thinks, leadership tends to feel at times like a very solitary practice. All right. I am the leader of my team or my organization. And your purpose, your mission is really about a community, right? You're talking about 100 million leaders. Can you help me understand the paradox that maybe I'm experiencing or some others experience in terms of like a community for leaders? We talked a little bit last time about leadership being a contagion. Is there a parallel or is there a connection to that?
Well, we're certainly on a mission to spark the next 100 million leaders around the world. And, referencing our first chat in the previous segment, we have this belief that everybody is really a leader, whether they want to be or not, if leadership is influence. So there's 7 billion, give or take, leaders out there. And we want to spark the next 100 million leaders, like awaken it, develop their skills. That's a huge number. And part of what's behind that number is that I have no idea how we're going to reach 100 million people around the world in 10 years. But that's where I think, I interviewed on my podcast a minister, a pastor, many years ago, and he talked about having God-sized goals. And he said, everyone talks about SMART goals, make your goals achievable. He says, that's wrong. And it kind of resonated with me. He says, and again, he's a minister, so he's talking about God-sized goals. Now, I'm not so sure that God cares about my goals, but the point was, pick a goal so big, you are not going to achieve it. You will fail unless you get help from others, wherever they may be. And so this idea of creating this goal, we want to influence the next 100 million leaders. It's such an audacious goal that we need help. We need the help of other leadership development professionals. We need the help of other authors and consultants and gurus. We need the help of new technology to reach people that we would never be able to reach with books and workshops and keynotes and all the traditional things. And so that's kind of what's behind that number. Now, separate from that, we certainly do some traditional marketing things, but our focus is to really foster a community of like-minded folks in the world of leadership development. So we're not creating a community of leaders, we're creating a community of leadership development professionals. And again, through them, touching millions of lives and thousands of lives. And, LeadX is now 6 years old. We were kind of late. It was during COVID that we said, geez, everyone's locked up, shut down, not going to conferences. Where are we getting that fellowship? Where are we getting the learning? Where's the opportunity for us to contribute? And that's when we decided, well, let's start using, digital technology to form this community that will be a stepping stone towards that 100 million goal.
Yeah, it's an audacious goal, 100 million. But to your point, even if you fail and you only get halfway there,
right.
That's 50 million people.
That's right.
So tell me, what is it about LeadX that would, I think just as the head of this organization, I'm by default a leader. But what about people who don't necessarily see themselves as a leader? How do you get them to come into a community like LeadX? What can they expect, and who do you think? I'll stop there. How do you open the door to them or see that this is an opportunity for them?
Yeah, well, so LeadX, we have sort of two offerings. So the corporate offering is where we'll work with an organization to offer digital coaching, micro learning, access to live coaches, et cetera, at scale. And so we hope that through our organizational partners, and that's where we make our money, they're offering to their individual contributors, hey, you might not officially be supervising any people, but you should be thinking about self-leadership, growth mindset, communication, presence, et cetera. And so here's a bunch of resources to develop you. Separate from that, anyone who's listening to this or watching this video, you can just download a free version of the LeadX app in your favorite app store. No cost, and it gives you instant access to personality assessments, growth mindset assessments, hundreds of leadership development courses, self-leadership courses, coaching plans, nudges, book summaries, no cost. So that's one way we're reaching people who aren't going to get supported by their current employer. And that's back to, figuring out how can we tap into current technology to scale leadership, to make a difference, on around the world on a broader scale than we ever have before.
Yeah, it's really powerful, and I don't want to miss this opportunity. You had me as part of your group. I think it was about 2 weeks ago, and I was on there with Todd Billingsley, and it was such a great experience, not just to be part of the community, but just to one of the things that you had featured as part of that program was a breakout session.
Yeah,
and in that breakout session, you and I have been in training and development long enough to know that breakout sessions cannot always be the most productive use of time. A lot of people are sitting around and checking their phones or whatever. I think there were about 8 or 10 people from all different walks of life, all different types of organizations, all passionately engaged around these ideas. And I walked away from that experience and I was like, wow, there is this sense that people who are passionate about either, to your point, leading themselves, leading their organization, tapping into their own growth potential, their own growth mindset. They are out there. And I think what you've created is a really tangible way for them to access this. So
yeah, no, that's great feedback, Ed. We've got, I like to set, as audacious goals. And so I say to everyone in that group, I don't think we're there yet, but our North Star is make that monthly meetup the most looked forward to meeting they have for that month. We're drowning in meetings, but I want them to see that once a month, be like, oh, that's one I actually want to go to. That's what we're striving for.
Yeah, there's no shortage of ones we don't want to go to. Let's be honest.
That's right.
Yeah. One thing I do want to touch on before we take a quick break, there's something that stands out, at least in my mind, and it's been in the news. It's everywhere you turn. There's this discussion of AI, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that's part of your mission is the use of AI-powered leadership coaching. Tell me a little bit about the intersection of AI technology and what we know about it right now and its application in the leadership space.
Yeah, it's kind of amusing to me because we sunk $1 million 6 years ago into an IBM Watson platform. We created the world's first executive coach using IBM Watson. And from my side of it, I was blown away. I mean, you could actually ask questions and get advice from this IBM Watson coach, Amanda, we called her. And the fact that 98% of the time, she quote unquote would answer correctly, coherently, et cetera. It was mind blowing to me. We can democratize coaching at scale. But a funny thing happened. Everyone wanted to see it. Everyone wanted to play with it. But when it came time to buying it, all of a sudden organizations said, well, 98% is pretty amazing for IBM Watson. But what about those 2 out of 100 employees that got a wrong answer or a weird answer? Like, they're not going to like it. And we can't have that kind of experience for every 2 out of 100 employees, even if it's costs $10 a month. And a human coach costs $2,000 a month. People wouldn't do that. The other thing was people were deathly afraid that IBM Watson was going to say something incorrect or biased or whatever. And we were actually screening the responses before we would let them out in the world. But that didn't matter. There was that fear. So we actually turned off IBM Watson and just lost that $1 million because it just was not a fit. So here we are, it's 6 years later, ChatGPT's released and everyone's blown away. I'm blown away by ChatGPT. I use the paid version, and just this week, I've probably used it once a day as a co-writer, as a brainstormer, as a research assistant. And we're just so early in that. And what I'm seeing is all these training companies, all these coaching companies are now doing what I did 5 years ago and saying, oh, let's just plug this sucker in so that people can talk to it and ask them their leadership, ask them their coaching questions. And what they don't realize is what I learned $1 million later the hard way, which was people are not going to want to give that to their employees if there's any chance that it's going to say something incorrect or a little odd. And ChatGPT will lie to you. Its current state, it gets a lot of things wrong. So
it is imperfect. Yeah.
I think the future is amazingly bright for this technology. I do worry about its power, its sentience. I worry about job displacement. I'm in love with it as a tool. I think we're ahead of the curve, but I don't actually see this whole idea of a robot coach anymore as being, in the short term, plausible from a marketplace standpoint. Will it give you good average answers? If you say like, hey, how do I, foster psychological safety? How do I lead a more inclusive environment? Give me a quiz for whether I've got unconscious bias. It can do all those things reasonably well. So it's like the cost of average has come way down, but most people don't want average. They want great. They want superlative. They want to work with the best in the business. And that's going to be really how all of us can stay relevant and just kind of use that as a tool without it really taking over.
Yeah, you're touching on a part of this that I think is a question mark right now, because if you haven't used ChatGPT, it is absolutely mind blowing. It's not perfect, but it is absolutely mind blowing. But there's part of the leadership / coaching dynamic that is inherently human, and it's a trust based element to it. And I don't know maybe the next generation, maybe our generation isn't going to be comfortable with it, but it's that idea of building trust or having trust in the person that's at least partially responsible for my development. And and I don't know how you, as ChatGPT or any other I don't know how that is resolved. If it even needs to be resolved.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and I have a feeling we might stray into this in the coming segments, but ChatGPT right now, it's pretty good with knowledge-based things. But as you and I know, answering questions or giving knowledge is not truly coaching. I did this experiment. So I have actually 2 health coaches I've been working with. So they give me my calories, my macros. They set up a weightlifting plan. They tell me how many steps I should take, all that kind of stuff. So as an experiment, now I'm paying thousands of dollars to these coaches to get me off the couch and lose 10 pounds. And so I asked ChatGPT, I said, okay, here's my stats, 56-year-old male, here's my weight, here's my goals, blah, blah, blah. How many calories should I be eating a day in order to achieve my weight loss goals? It gave me the same calorie number that my high-paid coaches gave me. I said, okay, what macronutrients should those be? It suggested what's called a 40-40-20 split, which is exactly what my coaches said. I then said, make me a meal plan to those calories, those macros. And by the way, I eat plant-based. And it gave me a meal plan as good as what the coaches. So all the knowledge stuff, I even made it do a workout. It said, hey, I want to do a 3-day-a-week full body workout. Boom. With free weights, no machines. Boom. It gave me almost the same workout plan that my coach gave me. So all this knowledge stuff is great. But ChatGPT is not doing the things that my human coach is doing, which is checking up on me, holding me accountable, reminding me of my why on the days I don't want to do it, boosting me up when I go on vacation to Key West for a week and come back 5 pounds heavier. All those human elements that get to mindset shifts, challenging things, developing self-awareness, it can't do, at least not yet. We hear these freaky stories about, seems like a lot of them happen in Asia for whatever, where people get married to their avatars on their phones, or people, spend all their
Yeah.
time as a fan of a pop star that's actually just a made up digital cartoon. So there are people out there that are forming emotional bonds and trusting relationships and weird relationships with robots. That ain't most of us. And so I could see us getting into kind of like the movies like Her and all that. I see us getting there. And certainly even in our lifetimes, we're going to get there, but it's not there now. It's not there now.
No, yeah, and I think it's one of those things that every day we're evolving. We could go on about AI for a long time. But let's take a break. My guest today is Kevin Kruse. He is absolutely a wellspring of insight, information into leadership and its impact on not just an organization, but on ourselves and our society. So, Kevin, you want to come back for another round and talk more about coaching as part of leadership?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Let's take a quick break and we'll come back with part 3.